So, what do you do when somebody keeps lying to you? They're just a habitual liar. Maybe they're a friend of yours, a family member. How does it make you feel to deal with somebody who lies a lot? And then what do you do about it? So, these are questions I'm going to deal with today. And the reason is that it's really come to my attention because of circumstances in my own life with dealing with somebody who's lies. And it unfortunately triggers a lot of my early experiences for me because my mother, when I was growing up, my mother was a habitual liar. There's lots of different terms that are used, like compulsive liar and pathological liar. I don't know what my mom's pathology was, so I'm not really sure what made her lie so much, but she was a habitual liar. She lied a lot. And especially after my father died when I was 10, I think when he was still alive, I don't think she lied as much because my dad was more of an honest person. But after that, it really kind of ramped up. And it was hard for me because I was a very honest child by nature. I just liked telling the truth. I mean, some kids are just like that, and I was like that. And my mother hated that. Most parents want their kids to tell the truth. My mother didn't. She wanted me to keep my mouth shut and lie or whatever, but she didn't want me telling the truth a lot. And that really came to a head in my teens because after my father died and in the early years of my teens, the lies that she told and she wanted me to tell, and that was the other piece of it, is that my mother made me lie for her, which is horrible to do to a child. It really is. And I mean, as much as I hated to lie, I kind of had to go along with it because she was my only parent left and she was the only person I had in the world. But my mom, initially, it was lies about small things. Like, we'd go check in at a hotel and if I told him I was under 12, even though I was like 14, then she would get a cheaper rate. Things like that. But eventually they became bigger lies. And one of the biggest lies my mom perpetuated for many years is she would date different guys and they were all really good guys. And, it wasn't a problem with them. It was that she didn't want them to know she had an older daughter. So I was still at home and I was fine because I was still just a teenager. But my mom would lie about her age. And therefore, she didn't want to admit that I had a sister who was 7 years older. So she denied my sister's existence, basically. And she lied about it. They would ask her how many kids she had. And she'd say, I have one. I have a daughter. And that was it. Now, that's a pretty big lie, okay? And of course, she even told bigger lies than that. I'm not going to get into it, but she got busted. I mean, my theory about lying is most of the time people are going to find out the truth anyway. And I know for a fact that the last serious boyfriend she had, that they were together quite a long while, and he was a wonderful guy. He was really wonderful to me, and I was already in college and then grown by that time, but I don't know why she lied to him. I know he was like 4 or 5 years younger, and I guess that's why she felt really, nervous about her age or whatever, because she never wanted to admit her age. But she lied to him about, again, not having this older daughter. And one day when I was home and I was jet lagged, I'd come back from a trip, and it was during college. I answered the phone, and it was her boyfriend. And without even thinking, because I was jet lagged, he said, "Oh, well, what you been doing since you got back?" And I said, "Well, I talked to my sister on the phone." And there was like dead silence on the line because I think he always suspected, maybe he even knew, but he didn't act really that surprised. And of course, the worst thing is I had to tell my mother that I had told him that. And she was not happy at all. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, that was kind of my background to this, is that I grew up really trying to be pretty honest. Now, have I always told the truth? No. Most people in their lives have told lies from time to time. But I'm not a habitual liar, and I'm not a person who likes to lie. And the times I went through a phase of my life when by necessity I kind of had to lie about certain things, and oh God, that was painful. It made me sick. Actually made me physically ill to have to keep secrets. It just bugged me. So I have lied, have not enjoyed lying. And for the most part, I would say overall in my life, I have told the truth. And that is my goal for the rest of my life as well, is to be a truth teller. Now, does that mean I say everything that comes to my head? No, you can shut up and not say anything sometimes. Like, somebody says, "Oh, how do I look today?" And if they really look horrible, don't lie to them. Just say, "Oh, yeah, you look fine." Something like that, just so that it's not so egregious, okay? I mean, but you don't want to go and say, "Oh, you look like hell today. You shouldn't even go out." You don't want to say that either, unless they really look so bad that you think it would actually improve, to tell them that. I don't know. Maybe, they're wearing something horrible or something like that. I don't know. The point is, don't put up with liars, okay? If you want to know what the origin of people lying is, a lot of it has to do with learned behavior. There are some people who develop when they're growing up certain personality disorders which lend themselves more to lying, such as if you have narcissistic personality disorder or you have what's called antisocial personality disorder, otherwise known as like a sociopath or psychopath. Those disorders tend to be more liars than the average because it kind of goes along with the disorder. But people don't have to have one of those to develop a lying habit. It can happen to anyone. If you grow up in a situation where, such as mine was, where you're kind of forced to lie by a parent, then you kind of learn that that's what you have to do to survive. And, it didn't take with me, but it does with some people. And so it is very much a learned behavior. We are not born to be liars. In fact, a baby, just by its very behavior, is like totally an honest creature, okay? If it's hungry, it lets you know. If it poops its pants, it lets you know, okay? There's no deception involved. It just is what it is, okay? But we learn the lying as we grow up. And what's really sad is when you have parents like my mom was who encourage their kids to lie, which just boggles my mind. But anyway, it happens. So let's get back to why I'm doing this topic for today. I'm not going to go too much into detail because this is something that's ongoing and it's very close to home. I mean, emotionally for me. So I don't want to get too much in the weeds on it. But there's been someone in my life the last 2.5 years who's got a lot of psychological issues. And one of those is that this person tends to be a liar. And for the same reasons I told you about, it had a lot to do with the way this person grew up and how this person had to survive and all of that. So while I understand it, I don't appreciate it in a close friend of somebody who's lying, and especially when the lies affect me in some way. And that's what happened just recently here in the last week. And it really impacted my well-being because they lied about something that could have actually affected my health. And that's about all the detail I want to go into it about with it. But it really upset me because that is the ultimate, to me, betrayal. It's not just that it wasn't really even a direct lie because I didn't specifically ask them, did you do this or not? So they didn't really have a chance to directly lie, but it was still a lie by omission. And, when you don't tell somebody important that they might need to know for their own well-being, that's also not healthy. It's it's certainly not being a good friend and really caring about somebody. So it really hurt me a lot that this person did that. And it just got me thinking about how every time someone I know does something like that, it reminds me of my mom and reminds me of some of the trauma that was created by having to deal with her lies, but also her having me lie for her. And so that's why I'm very intolerant of lying. It's just probably one of my biggest pet peeves of all time. So, what do you do if you know somebody who lies to you a lot? How do you deal with that? Well, there's an old saying that basically a leopard doesn't change its spots. Technically, it's a learned behavior, and if somebody wanted to change it in themselves and not be a liar, they could change it. It would take a while, but if they worked on it, they could probably stop lying. But it's very unusual or unlikely for someone to do that. willingly. And you can't ever change someone else. If you don't already know that, let me say it again. You can't ever change someone else. So if a person's lying, they're probably going to continue to lie. So then the question comes down to you. What are you going to do about that? And you really have two choices. You either put up with the lies and be okay with it, which some people can do. I'm not sure I can do that. And or you have to just, evict the person from your life. You can't be around that person. You can't let that person affect you. And that's really your two options. You either accept it and deal with it, or you're out of there, basically. So I don't know if this has helped you today. I just wanted to share this because some of you might have someone in your life that also lies a lot, and you find it very frustrating or hurtful. And so hopefully this has maybe given you a little more insight into it today. Until next time, be well, keep moving forward, don't lie. Take care. Bye.